lot of work still has to be done in this area, and I know you've been thinking about this some, about how to effectively test these models, and there's some learning to be gained there, I think, from some of the work you've done. Prototypes. Prototypes are really useful to build if you're uncertain about how to proceed with a modeling project. Try creating what's sometimes known as a spike prototype in software. You do in a focused way, you just try out an idea. And the goal is not to start creating a model like that. It is to just try out an idea, see what it would look like. And you might prototype 2 ways of doing something and see how ugly each of them is and choose the least bad ones. Often these are done for user interfaces in software, but they can be done for many other areas of software. And if we're building models, they're really useful to do. If we're not sure how to proceed most effectively, try modeling it in 2 different ways and see which is easier, which is better. One thing I wish I could recommend, and this just reminded me of it, but I'm not aware of a way to do it right now, is mocking. So this is an idea I think Dylan will be aware of. Some of the others of you from software engineering who have had software engineering exposure may be interested. This is something which I have encouraged the software developers to incorporate, but mocking basically consists of an easy way to create fake versions of an object, where that version of the object is used for testing. It's used for consistency checks. It's used for having a very well-defined behavior. You know what it is associated with that object, and you can then have other objects interact with that one. So, for example, you might mock up an instance of an agent that maybe would even then continue and call off to the regular agent, but would automatically record all calls made to the original agent. Or it would record all uses of that agent by the main class. Mocks are very useful for testing. They're very useful for debugging of a system as well. And unfortunately, mocking is not supported right now within AnyLogic. Be an interesting question about whether you can make a Java-based mocking framework like Mockito or JMock work with a tool like AnyLogic.
It does work.
It does?
Yeah, so Mockito works in there. And it does make testing easier to some degree, but the biggest barrier to testing AnyLogic code right now is it's not obvious how to create agents on their own.
Right.
It's not obvious how you need to have the engine instance that you pass to them configured. So you can do your own classes relatively simple, and then you can give agents an interface and then mock that and pass it to your other classes, but it's still
Yeah, it's this whole issue of test harnesses, right? You're not able to create test harnesses other than experiments, which pull to create test harnesses which create agents, basically, or create a main class without agents and kind of frob it to make sure that it's consistent. And until one has a way of instantiating sort of a full test harness without the full infrastructure of an experiment. I think experiments are kind of the least bad way to do it. They're really sort of the only way you can do it. But you end up twisting them in kind of weird ways to try to use them as testing frameworks. So just with an eye towards time here.